possibly get on the stream to, ask questions or chime in on the conversation. But that's pretty much the headquarters of pretty much most of the stuff going on. Somebody dropped this video in the Akademiks chat, which I'm about to watch it. Let me see which it is. Apparently it's a video on Cordae, made by a channel called Hip Hop Madness. I probably played something from them before. I don't know if it's a good video. I'll play like a good 3 minutes. If it's trash, tell me to turn it off. Or if it's cool, tell me to keep watching.
Brought to you by Morgan & Morgan. States.
Stay off for something no one else can be.
Yeah, because once you be you, who could be you but you? That's what's wrong right now. Everybody trying to rap the same style with the, I don't know who created it, if it was Future or Migos, but all them sound the same.
Generally speaking, they say that imitation is the most sincere form of flattery. When you're recognized as so much of an influence that others will then try to inject a little of that into themselves, the belief is that it should really be seen as a compliment. But in a highly competitive industry such as hip-hop, where every last shred of your individuality is paramount to your success, the notion of someone else stealing your style, cadence, flow, or concepts can be seen as one of the greatest crimes a rapper can commit. With high-profile examples of hip-hop sound-alikes including Action Bronson and Ghostface Killah, Lil Man Jay and Lil Baby, and to a much lesser extent, Izzy Drake and Perkio, when exactly do these extreme similarities cross the line from crazy coincidence to copy-paste music? When it comes to recent breakout stars in hip-hop, very few have experienced the kind of success as Kentucky's own Jack Harlow. Likeable, vocally engaging, and by no means short on admirers, his rise has seen him emerge as the toast of the commercial realm that's been occupied by Drake for much of the last decade. Coming across in a similar degree of marketability and female-heavy fan base, some believe that it's actually due to a concerted effort on Jack's part to dip into Drake's formula across his bars, rhyme schemes, and presentation. Although it's now garnered so much steam that The Fader published an article on the Drakeification of Jack, the notion of Harlow borrowing heavily from Drizzy's playbook is actually nothing new. In the words of Anthony Fantano, he actually wrote off much of his early work as derivative Drake drivel, but has since acknowledged that he has found his own voice to a certain degree. And although these comparisons have been bubbling around Jack before, they were officially drilled home once and for all when he teamed up with him on Churchill Downs. Among the highlights from his sophomore album, Come Home, The Kids Miss You, the pair trading bars over a late-night oriented number led many.
What is this about? Oh, let me just see what they said about Cordae. Oh, wait, hold on. Am I in this video?
Hate his sound, he certainly isn't his only descendant. Alongside Cardi's own protege of Ken Carson, recent breakout rapper Yeat hasn't exactly been shy about his influences. And according to Akademiks, this has been crucial in building his reputation within the game.
3 industry artists literally look
Tapered off, and Cordae said his site had enough of
just more appreciation for Cardi.
Next up, Cordae. When Cordae first came out of the gate, he built himself.
Hold on, who do y'all think Cordae is like a copy of? Let me see if y'all think he's a copy of someone. They have Cordae on the screen. I want to see if y'all think he's copying anyone. I don't necessarily think so. I think there's a lane that he fits in, but I'm not sure if I would say he's copying anyone. I see a lot of people say J. Cole. Okay, yeah, a lot of people say J. Cole. Well, is he copying J. Cole, or does he fit in this, maybe the same mold that J. Cole fits in, which is a mold of conscious rapper who isn't rapping about witnessing gang shit and who's going through a regular conscious existence and growing up, right? Some people might say, oh, that sounds like a college kid. You get what I mean? And obviously no pun intended, right? But it sounds like a kid who's, growing up in a regular life, living in the suburbs, you go to college, this and third. That's pretty much J. Cole's audience, right? Logic, I see some people trying to say Logic as well. All right, let me hear what they got to say.
As an emboldened and lyrically adept voice for a new generation who had had enough of old heads critiquing them. In his rebuttal to J. Cole's 1985, Cordae was positioned as not so much of a disciple of Cole, but as a worthy adversary. But after the initial buzz tapered off and Cordae set his sights on a prosperous career, he began to bear a startling resemblance to the work of Cole in terms of both his worldview and his beat selection. Yet, even as it became apparent, Cordae sought to shut down the narrative as fast as it could come up. Nah, I don't hear that, he retorted when asked if he was a baby J. Cole by Billboard. I get all types of comparisons. I feel like it's unfair to them, you know what I'm saying? They're 10, 20 years in this thing. I don't deserve those comparisons in my eyes. It's an honor, but also, I'm my own artist and my own person. While this was acknowledged to a degree on his debut album, The Lost Boy, the concept of him being a Cole clone who had yet to find his own artistic identity really began to pick up some steam on his sophomore record, From a Bird's Eye View.
Cordae on From a Bird's Eye View is making old music at 24 years old. Cole has been criticized for being one of the most sleepy, boring MCs that we have to offer in our generation. But Cole, at the very least, from a rapper's point of view, I would consider a pretty good to almost great rapper. That doesn't mean that all of his music is good. It just means that he has a skill set that can at least separate him from or put himself so far ahead of anyone that he's influencing that he would be the preference to anyone trying to adopt or copy his style. Every single track on this Bird's Eye View album, I'm thinking J. Cole would sound good on this. These are damn near the come up era level songs.
With Cordae recently admitting that he'd taken an artistic stumble on From a Bird's Eye View, which was admirable, only time will tell if he can pick himself back up and step out of Cole's shadow. Juice WRLD and Kid Laroi, the two flagship artists.
All right, okay. There's always gonna be similarities, you know. I've taken the approach to say this: nothing is great if it's not imitated or copied. And obviously, imitation is definitely a sign of flattery. But I'll say this, the reason why, and this has evolved me, right? That when I see people doing a style or maybe using certain things that I feel is in my repertoire to create their style, like if they're imitating my journalism or me as a personality, I don't get offended as I used to. Actually, I understand because, there's a great, and I wish I could find the quote. Quincy Jones once said, sometimes you have to, a lot of great artists usually copy other greatness until they find their sound. So, it's all about eventually finding your own niche or whatever the case is. But, again, hip hop fans also look for similar artists. That's why these guys are blowing up, right? Like Juice WRLD died and people want a replacement. They want to get the same feeling. So they're going to go to anybody who could help them get that feeling. And if it happens to be Kid Laroi, it happens to be Kid Laroi. Same thing with people who like J. Cole music. They don't want to hear a bunch of Yeet and Uzi and Future. They want something that's a little bit more conscious, and that's where I think Cordae fits in. With that being said, if you just straight up copy, you won't last if you don't make it your own, right? So a lot of people start off by copying, but they then make it their own, right? And that's the important part. You have to make your own unique lane. That's how you last. Otherwise, you become, no shots to design or nothing like that. You lose your shot at proving your uniqueness, and people just think you're like the store-bought version. So it is kind of what it is. Somebody said Cordae needs to link up with Alchemist, the producer. No shade and no diss to Alchemist, and I do like Alchemist production. I don't think he needs to do that at all. Here's the problem I think Cordae has. Cordae has a very nostalgic and traditional rap sound, and also very conscious, and I think is very needed. But I think he has to carve out what I don't know which guy said it. They said he's making old nigga music at 24. Yeah, if you rap over the same beats that J. Cole would rap over, or somebody else who would do that same style that was older would do, yeah, they're gonna think you're making old nigga music. You have to make a new lane for what the young 24-year-old wants to listen to, that could still be considered a little bit cool and hip, but it's conscious music. When J. Cole did it, I thought it was brilliant, right? I think J. Cole leaned on his own production to carve out that lane. I think Cordae is more than just linking up with these classic or legendary producers. How do you make it where these young motherfuckers could say, oh, that's Cordae's lane, right? Somebody says, do I think that Designer was blackballed by Future? Won't necessarily say blackball, but was there incentives to not work with him? Yeah, obviously. Right? All right.